Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I think we are set to go. Uh, Quickly, one last confirmation. Uh, can you see me? And is the screen visible? Can you see me? And is the screen visible? Please type on the chat box so that we can start. All right. Prince said he can see me and it's visible. So I think because of that, definitely we are good to go. All right. Welcome to the Faculties Hub. We will be in the next couple of days going in depth into understanding the concept of crypto, the concept of blockchain, the narratives around blockchain, and pretty much what do I stand to gain? What do you stand to gain? What does the person to the left stand to gain? Most especially if you are new to the industry. Oftentimes, um, there are a lot of questions that are yet answered for someone who is in a different field of life and he wants to venture into the crypto space. And he tends to ask the question, what's in for me? What's in for me? I am a student. What's in for me? I'm a civil servant into public service. What's in for me? I run a private venture. What's in for me? I'm a medical doctor. What's in for me? I'm an academician. The list go on. And while it looks as if it's pretty much a tough industry and a tough territory, there is there is a nice place, or there is an easy path to start. So consider this course where as your jump start, bringing you to speed on the rudimentaries, and I believe by the end of the course where we'll have all course to get ourselves started. Let's not forget the ground rules still stands, most especially that which was documented in our WhatsApp waiting room. All right, so let's start. We'll be covering two modules every day for the next 3 days. And for today, we'll be considering what we call blockchain, Bitcoin, and the landscape of cryptocurrencies. And after that, we're going to also consider the model, why crypto. If you have questions, please keep your fast fingers ready. When it's time for questions, you can ask. Having said that, I think let's start. A little about me. The faculty of this course, my name is Benjamin Zigwai Ali. I'm a Nigerian. A little bit about my professional background. I hold my first degree in business, computing, and information systems from the University of Central Lancashire in the UK. I proceeded to securing a diploma in cryptocurrency from Shaw Academy. From a professional side, I'm a certified Microsoft professional with, I think, close to a decade plus now, with specialty in system engineering and systems administration. I'm also a certified network security administrator from EC Council. I'm currently doing a postgraduate program from the University of Nicosia in blockchain and digital currency. Actually, I have paused the program. I intend to continue after the bull run. Pretty much, we're using our school fees to make best use of it so that we can continue with ease. It's not an advice to you who is schooling. If somebody is actually sponsoring your education, I think you shouldn't be doing that. Pretty much, I'm sponsoring myself, so I'm in a better place to make investment decisions about my life and things like that. So that's all about me. Let's go to what we have for today. Today, we'll be considering what we call blockchain, Bitcoin, and the landscape of cryptocurrencies. And in the course of our learning, we're going to consider crypto as a single currency. We're going to consider crypto as an open source platform. We're going to move into trying to understand the Byzantine problem. That will set everything right for us to move into what we call decentralized cryptocurrencies, or rather landscape of cryptocurrencies, and no other guy beats us welcome than the guy called Bitcoin. So we're going to dive into the blockchain ecosystem of Bitcoin, understand Bitcoin from a technical, theoretical, with the whole idea such that it is assimilatable for the today's layman. We're going to end by also checking what we call the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. So let's start. As you and I start our journey into the crypto space, it's a definite fact that we will be laced with multiple terminologies worthy of definition. Among the many terms that you and I need to have a grounded understanding of what they are is the term cryptocurrency, amongst many. Now, cryptocurrency, according to dictionary definition, is what? A digital currency. Okay? Is a digital currency that is specific to a blockchain. Let's not forget, to a blockchain wherein transactions are verified. It can also be oftentimes a medium of exchange, but the key thing is transactions are verified, and the verified transactions are maintained in what they call a decentralized system. Don't worry, I'm going to break it down little by little. And everything is being managed or being run using a computer security technique called cryptography. So if there's anything you cannot pick, is first, cryptocurrency is a currency. All right, very important, is a currency. And that currency is specific to what another concept called a blockchain. And it's in the blockchain that transactions are verified. And when the transaction is successfully verified, there is a record maintenance infrastructure, or what we call a database that maintains the information. Very, very important. Okay. Now, let's take it from down. Now, everything that has been said revolves around a digital infrastructure that pretty much runs as a currency or as a financial technology infrastructure. Now, this is me trying to break down the concept of cryptocurrency for the layman. And in this technological infrastructure, there are many things that the hardware or the machines as players do. The first thing is what? Verification. Now, what do you mean by verification? So let's say A want to send something to a person B. A pretty much gets B's wallet address, which definitely is what you guys know. But before it is a success, A should broadcast, I intend to send to Bitcoin, as the case may be, to Ethereum, as the case may be, the list go on. All right. Now, when the wallet terminal in the person's mobile phone makes the broadcast, there are machines in the blockchain of that given currency, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, that are online 24/7. Okay? That they are online 24/7. And what do? They pick requests. Now, when they pick this given request, the first thing that we have said is verification. They make sure that the set guy A has the 2 Bitcoin. plus what the blockchain considers as what? Fees. So if at that instance of broadcast, that certain wallet infrastructure does not have 2 Bitcoins, and the fees that will cover the transaction, verification is failed. Rather, verification is successful in the sense that the transaction cannot be successful, because verification intends to establish that you have what you intend to transact with. I think that's not hard to understand. Now, assuming that on the contrary, this said wallet have it and even have what can cover for the transfer fees, transaction is successful. Now, that successful transaction then gets recorded. We are going somewhere, okay? But all this thing is done by what we call a decentralized system. Decentralized system gives us the idea that the control or the management of these transactions, from verification to transaction management and record, is not done from a central location. Like in the case of our banks, that pretty much everything is a top-down approach: headquarters, branch offices, regional offices, bank, as the case may be. So everything in a centralized system is managed from the center. But unlike the centralized system, a decentralized system is managed from multiple locations. In other words, permit me to say, what if we have a banking infrastructure that every bank is an independent headquarters of its own while functioning as a branch office? Something like that. Okay, something like that. So pretty much this gives us the idea that each machine that is functioning as a node in a given blockchain has the complete copy of the blockchain running on that machine, and that node or that computer machine can independently do the functions of verification and also the function of recording successful transactions. Thus, the more the number of independent machines running on that blockchain, the more decentralized that blockchain is. To wrap everything up, everything is being managed using a computer security framework called cryptography. Now, cryptography in computer security is a computer technique that hides the content of any given data. The best way I can explain cryptography is pretty much use one of the known use case that uses cryptography, even though this use case is not sort of a decentralized use case. It's actually a centralized use case, and pretty much is what we call our cable TV. All right, our cable TV, whether it's a DSTV, as the case may be, or the list go on. So what do we understand about this use case in our quest to unravel the concept of cryptography? The first thing that we know is that there is, what can I say, a TV broadcasting company somewhere that broadcasts data, and this data is actually TV channels. All right, that's from the broadcasting side. Then pretty much this is pretty much your house or my house, where there is a TV that intends to view whatever is broadcasted. Now, to cut the whole story short, you and I will understand that it's not every kind of TV, or rather, Your TV cannot just view those TV channels just like that, because somehow the TV channels are sort of protected, and pretty much you need a device given to you by these guys to be able to view those TV channels. In a technical sense, it means that these TV channels from the broadcasting side are what? Encoded. Some people can say encrypted. Plus, you need a credential from them to what? To decode. Or rather, decrypt. Thus, the communication of data, in this case, digital data, from encoding to decoding is what is called cryptography. Or from encryption to decryption is what is called cryptography. Thus, it's not rocket science that digital signature or that digital credential that these TV companies or these cable TV companies give you is oftentimes called a what? A decoder. Technically doing what? Decoding anything that is encoded. So if that is the case, it means that us understanding the concept cryptography makes us then conclude that the crypto aspect of cryptocurrency is pointing direction to what? Hiding. Okay? Hiding. Hiding what? Well, the suffix will give us the idea of what is hidden. And in this case, currency is the suffix. So we can say hiding what? Money. Or what we will. So thus, for the layman, you can now define cryptocurrency as what? Hidden currency, hidden money, and the list go on. But if you cannot pick anything, the first thing you should pick that first and foremost is a digital currency. It's not paper cash. It's specific to a blockchain. We'll come to blockchain later, in which transactions are verified and verified transactions are recorded. And in a decentralized system, it's not a central thing, all right? And everything is housed using a computer security technique called cryptography, all right? Okay, let's move on. It's not a hoax, it's not a drama, it's not a lie that cryptocurrency is actually considered a currency. This being the fact that cryptocurrency actually possesses the three main functions of a currency. What are we trying to say? Every given currency possesses these three main functions. The function of that currency functioning as a medium of exchange, the function of that currency functioning as a store of value, and the function of that currency functioning as a unit of account. What are we trying to say? Just as your Naira is in units of kobo, so also is the Bitcoin in units of Satoshis, unit of account. All right? Just as your Naira is a medium of exchange, your CDs is a medium of exchange, so also does Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, as the list go on, considered as a medium of exchange. Store of value. Just as your net worth, my net worth, can be calibrated or can be measured in the number of units of currency in my possession or currencies in your possession, so also is your financial worth. Or if you possess cryptocurrencies, in that sense, Also a store of value. In fact, the better the currency you possess, the higher your chances of having value. Excuse me. Now, let's not forget where we're coming from. We try to define the term cryptocurrency, and it is our journey to get ourselves acquainted with sensitive terminologies in the blockchain and the crypto space. So we try to define the term cryptocurrencies. And if there's anything you cannot remember, as long as you remember the fact that it is a digital currency, you're correct. And this digital currency is sort of or somehow linked to a transactions are recorded in a decentralized system with security top notch, and the security technique is cryptography. Anyhow you put this language, if pretty much this is what you have in your little way to define what is cryptocurrency, congratulations, you've done awesome. All right. But again, a lot of people actually think that cryptocurrency and blockchains means the same thing. Well, if it's the same thing, why do we need to define blockchain again? So technically, it's giving us the idea that the blockchain is not the same thing as cryptocurrencies. Then, what is then blockchain? Dictionary definition defines blockchain as what? A distributed ledger which are linked together. And while for the layman, I haven't understand what is blockchain, you are now using a technical term called ledger to define something that is already technical. So that makes it a little bit tough, right? So let's try and simplify it. So anytime you hear about the word ledger, it's simply referring to what? Records. Any recording infrastructure that you know, technically is a ledger system. Library recording system is a ledger. Hospital records, ledgers. Bank records, ledgers. All right. The only difference in the case of a blockchain ledger, or rather a blockchain infrastructure, let's not forget, cryptography is playing a core role. And what is cryptography? Let's not forget that technique that what hides content. All right. Let this sink. Hello, sorry. I think I had a network glitch. Please, can you hear me? Am I audible now? Yes, all right, thank you. Sorry, so let me share. Let me share the screen. Let me verify those on Facebook are also viewing. All right, yes, it's live on Facebook, so that's fair. Let's go on. Sorry for that. I hope we do not get stuck in this. So as I was saying, excuse me. So as I was saying, before things went disrupted, I was saying that if blockchain and cryptocurrency actually mean the same thing, there's no need for us to define blockchain. But actually don't mean the same thing. And our little way to define blockchain, dictionary definition defines it as a distributed ledger, which are linked together. And I went further to say, don't get confused. When you hear the word ledger, it means what? Records. All right. It's just that this recording infrastructure is laced using what we call cryptography. All right. Now, technically, these records or these ledgers are securely linked to one another such that it forms an interconnection of records or interconnection of ledgers. And I'll try to explain. An individual recording file, let's put it in that language, that makes up what we call the blockchain is actually called a block. All right? So something like this. Let's not forget where we're coming from. In our definition of cryptocurrencies, we said that a cryptocurrency is specific to a blockchain, and that it is in the blockchain that transactions have what? Verified, and verified transaction what? Recorded. So the recording of verified transactions is actually done in the unit record or in the individual recording file called the block. What do I mean? You want to send someone Bitcoin. Yes. Did it go? Yes. That transaction get recorded. Somebody is doing an online stuff and wants to be paid in Bitcoin, it gets recorded. This person did an NFT record. This person participated in an airdrop record. The more transactions that are verified and successful in the blockchain, the more those information get recorded in the unit file called the block. But you and I will agree that a single block or a single unit file is not enough to record all the multiple transactions that are happening in real time in the whole world. I mean, what are the number of people having the typical wallet in their phones, and they are powered with currencies and they can do whatever they want to do, as long as they are expressing themselves in that given blockchain space, in that given with that cryptocurrencies, all those information or those transactions are recorded in the block. Thus, you can agree with me that a single block is not enough. Because of that, there is a need for another block. Thus, when this block gets filled up, cryptographically, it continues in this block. Okay? And when this block gets filled up, it continues in what? The next block. What happens? It gets filled, it continues. So we begin to see what it is called an interconnection of blocks, or rather an interconnected blocks. It is this chain of blocks that literally is called blockchain, or rather a chain of blocks. To break this down, the relationship between cryptocurrencies and blockchain can be likened to the relationship between your country's currency and the financial infrastructure that has given that currency room for expression. For instance, for the sake of Nigeria, the Naira and the boundary that the CBN gave. So you can consider the boundary wherein the CBN created for the Naira as a blockchain type. Or you can say the blockchain is the bank of that currency. What are we trying to say if this is true? It means that it actually makes sense for every cryptocurrency to be specific to at least one blockchain. Just as your currency is also specific to the banking infrastructure created by the Apex Bank of your country. What are we trying to say? You cannot have a room for expression for the Naira in a CD-dominated banking infrastructure, except there's an understanding between the CD and the Naira based on exchange rates. That's also a future only available if the participating apex banks agree. But what if they don't agree? Thus, this is the relationship between cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Let's not forget, whatever I'm talking is not paper cash. Whatever I'm talking is at the digital level. These are important things for us to understand. Thus, nothing gives us a better pictorial idea of a blockchain like an anchor. Those who are into the nautical industry, who are sailors, who are navies, they totally understand the concept of anchors. All right. Anchor pretty much is what help in navigating the ship. I'm not into, what's the right word? I'm not into ships and aviation. Sorry, is it aviation? Nautical. I'm not into, yes, I'm into the maritime industry. Thank you, Shuku, for giving us this. But technically, the whole idea is, forget about the fact that it's an anchor, it's actually independent metallic rings. All right? Independent metallic rings that were wired together or fabricated together or welded together to serve a greater function. Just as the blocks are independent recording files, of course, cryptographically linked, using cryptography, these independent recording files are linked such that they serve a greater database function. All right? Let's continue. So to break it down, ledger is the same thing as record. And in the case of blockchain, is the same thing as blocks. All right. The chain, excuse me, let me go back. The chain is the infrastructure that is linking the records or linking the ledgers or linking the blocks. Either way you choose this. So thus, a blockchain is a linked digital record of transactions. You can replace the record and say is a linked digital ledger of transactions. You can also replace the ledger with blocks and say is a linked digital blocks of transaction that are protected. I think right now we can flow. What is that technology that ensures the protection? I think everybody can agree that technique is called what? Cryptography. All right. So blocks are used to record transaction made with cryptocurrencies. What are we trying to say? It means that these can be the boundary that the blockchain creates. So the crypto coin can express itself in this boundary, protected, just as the bank in our generic financial infrastructural perspective creates that boundary for you to express yourself. For those who are in the Nigerian state, we will not forget during the electioneering period, there are some nairas that pretty much were considered not good for circulation, right? All of a sudden, we then went back to base. Those same naira that was, I don't know how to put it, but we saw something in that sense, just to give us a recap. Another real life use case that can help us understand the concept of blockchain is our exercise books. I mean, this is the first information recording infrastructure that was introduced to us as far back as elementary education. The concept of A and B, A, B, C, D, I mean, the list go on. And it's important for us using an exercise book to establish some technical rudimentaries on how blockchain works, because we have already considered verification, right? We've considered information recording. But the question is, how do this information get recorded? That's an important question. And oftentimes I feel an exercise book is a perfect analogy to help us. So let's go back to our elementary days. This exercise book is pretty much what we use in writing our letters, our numbers, our ABC, our 1, 2, 3, as the case may be, right? And there are some ground rules. There are some ground rules that helped us in recording of information. If you are from the Western side, you start writing from the top left and you finish in the bottom right. That was one rule. Everybody knows that. You start writing like this. All right. And when you have exhausted the page, you do, or rather, you do not move to the next page until you have exhausted the current page, right? So pretty much that's the second rule. If somebody records an information by ignoring these rules, there may be a high probability that whatever is written may not be understood. We can go further to say that those who are of a different communication nomenclature, like those who are from the Arabic speaking environment, they actually don't do left to right. It's actually the other way around, right? Right to left. So if you do not consider that agreed way of documenting information, there's every tendency that communication may not be achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, consider this agreed way of documenting information as to the terminology that oftentimes in blockchain is called consensus algorithm. Because at the machine level, when a given blockchain software is installed on computer machine that at that instance are serving as nodes who pretty much are running the blockchain infrastructure, they will communicate under an agreed way to communicate. And that agreed way to communicate is either by verifying transactions, recording transaction, and in some situation, choosing which block the transaction will be written on. It follows an agreed algorithm pattern called consensus algorithm. Okay? Thus, for us to understand blockchain better, if we can liken a blockchain as an exercise book, wherein the pages that make up those exercise book can be likened to the blocks that makes up that blockchain, I think we may easily understand how blockchain works. It doesn't stop there. We can go as far as liking the transactions that are written in the blocks of a given blockchain to the writings, to the drawings, and the calculation we oftentimes do on the blank pages that makes up that exercise book. Thus, we can understand that blockchain is actually an information recording infrastructure specific to the cryptocurrency. I want to believe you guys are still hearing me loud and clear, right? The feedback on the chat box can do me good. So let's continue. Having explained and defined the concept of crypto, explain and define the concept of blockchain, I think we're ripe to go into the classification of blockchain. There are two main classifications of blockchain, not types, okay? Not types, classifications. Blockchain can be considered as a single currency. On the other side, a blockchain can be considered as an open source platform. So what's the difference between that which is considered a single currency and the one that is considered an open source platform? Just as the term single currency is uh, called, a single currency blockchain has only one thing, that in the entirety of that blockchain, only one currency expresses itself. No other currency can express itself in this blockchain. A perfect example of a blockchain that serves as a single currency is Bitcoin. But doesn't stop there. There's also what we call an open source platform. So an open source platform, in the other hand, yes, there is a blockchain, all right? In most situations, it has its native coin or its native currency in that blockchain. But it also allows other cryptocurrencies to also express themselves in that blockchain. All right? So what are we trying to say? Well, are you trying to tell me that you can build a cryptocurrency without building its corresponding blockchain? Yes. As long as you have a blockchain wherein you can build your cryptocurrency on. Oftentimes, or in most cases, those blockchain are considered what? Open source. So most players in the field either built their blockchain for their own currency or just build a currency compatible with an existing open source blockchain. A perfect example of an open source blockchain, I think you can begin to answer for yourself. Ethereum, yeah, you're correct. Binance, yes, you're correct. Tron, yes, you're correct. And the lists go on. No better picture can give us an idea of the difference between blockchain as a single currency and blockchain as an open source platform than the two pictures we have on the left side of my screen, as well as the right side of my screen. On the left side of my screen, or rather, it may be all right, is an apartment that has a single building, or rather, a piece of land that has a single apartment, all right? But on my right is a piece of land that has at least 3 apartments. For this case, if you will have anything to do with this apartment, you better be sure. You better be sure you know who you want to see. There is an intent to see the occupant or the owner of this house. If not, it's going to be considered as trespassing. But here on the other side, you necessarily don't need to see the big guy, or rather the landlord of the property. Probably you're here to see the person on the east side or the person on the west side. This is pretty much the closest picture to blockchain as a single currency and blockchain as an open source platform. Perfect example for single currency blockchain, Bitcoin, Litecoin. I think these are basic ones that you can work with. The ones open source, Ethereum, because on the Ethereum currencies like Shiba Inu runs on Ethereum. Yes or no? Gala runs on Ethereum. The list go on. In fact, the likes of layer 2s, even the layer 2s that now they are also independent blockchain infrastructure of their own, began as currencies running on Ethereum. The likes of Solana, the likes of Polygon, the likes of Avalanche, and the list go on. Of course, they have metamorphosed or matured to building their own blockchains, but sort of on top of the base kernel, and the lists go on. These are just many examples for us to understand. Now we have tried and understand the concept of currencies, the concept of blockchain. We went further to go into the classification of blockchains, even though whatever I did was under what we call public blockchains, okay? Public blockchain, because we have hybrid and private blockchains. And pretty much, this is another discussion for another time. But just because this information will be significant as we move on in this courseware, that's why I made emphasis on public blockchain. So don't think as if the only blockchain we have in the world is public blockchains, okay? No, there are private blockchains. Yes, they are decentralized in some sense, but they are private, all right? But public ledger, we have two main classifications, the one that is considered open source and the one that is considered a single currency. This now takes us to what we call the Byzantine problem. And nothing helps us to perfectly understand the Byzantine problem and how it relates to blockchain cryptocurrencies, except the Byzantine story. And the Byzantine story revolves around the Byzantine Empire. And one of the most formidable infrastructures or systems around the Byzantine Empire is the Byzantine army or armed forces. All right. So let's go. The Byzantine army was pretty much a military body making up of their armed forces and their navy. So don't ask me a question on what of Air Force. By that time, we didn't have planes, right? So let's kill it. During that time, technology have not evolved to things flying in the air. But definitely they had a formidable armed forces and a formidable navy. This military setup maintained a similar level of discipline, strategic prowess, and organization. As of that time, it was considered as one of the most effective armies of the Western Eurasia. Pretty much Eurasia is Europe and Asia, not the Asia you know, because the today Turkey was also considered Asia at that time. So Eurasia is pretty much Europe and Asia of the Middle Ages, all right? So don't be thinking of India and Japan, all right? The Byzantine army as a legion just disappeared in the 7th century. And somebody may be forced to ask, what exactly happened? All right? We oftentimes can imagine a typical military setup of the Byzantine army in the form of several divisions of an army encamped outside an enemy city. So let's say an enemy city is like Nigeria. The Byzantine army's typical military formation is that there will be a division in the north trying to invade Nigeria. There's a formation in the east trying to invade Nigeria. Probably there's a formation by the west, and probably they have their ships in the ocean by the south. Now, let's not forget, each of these divisions is oftentimes commanded by their own general. Now, these generals need to communicate with one another, but they can only do that through messengers. Why messengers? Because we're not in the advent of microwave technology, radio, Roger, whatever. So these messengers actually send information about strategy to these generals, and these generals have to decipher this information while observing the enemy territory. They must decide on a common plan of action. However, some of these generals may be traitors in some cases, and by traitors, they may prevent other loyal generals from reaching an agreement. It doesn't stop there. Some of this information may even be what? Hijacked and wrong information propagated. History have come to a conclusion that the problem that brought about the demise of the Byzantine army had nothing to do with them being less effective in battle. No. It was more of the case that this military setup was what? A centralized force. And being a centralized force, they will always require instructions and directions from the emperor in order to be what? Effective. Thus, if the army failed to do excellently fine, it may be that they are under an incompetent leader, or rather, a leader who is not interested in wars. That's one. On the other side is the fact that there were no ground rules. And because there were no ground rules, messengers can be impersonated and wrong information propagated. Let me take time and explain this concept of ground rules, because we are just coming from blockchain and we just explained that using an exercise book, right? We explained the fact that even in our elementary days of learning, there were ground rules on how we should communicate on paper, right? So like for the case of the Byzantine army, there were no ground rules. What do we mean by ground rule? I think the best way I can explain ground rules is taking our minds back to when we were kids. Pretty much I come from Kaduna State in Nigeria, and pretty much while growing up, I was a child or a son of the middle class, or the middle class working environment where our parents go to work in the morning and they come back in the evening, right? If pretty much that's yours, that's cool. One thing that we know while growing up, and you can please give me a feedback on the chat box, is that in as much as our parents are not at home, there are things that cannot change. There were ground rules for us. First ground rule, if somebody gives you something, what should you do? I think you can answer for yourself. What do we do? The ground rule is no. Thank you. And if the person goes further to force that thing in our hand, what should we do? Should we eat it? The ground rule is that we should give it to mommy and daddy. Actually, it's not mommy and daddy, it's mommy. Daddy oftentimes is not that worried about what they gives us. It's mommy. Most especially money. It's mommy. And she used to promise us that she's saving it for us, Christmas, blah, blah, blah. Now we know it's in our life. But what are we trying to establish? That even in their absence, we know how the home should be run. How about the fact that we are back from school and just for reasons best known to us, we start playing, turning the living room upside down. Probably there are dishes, we ate food. There are dishes to be washed. Pretty much if you are from that side of the nation where you have water problem, pretty much there are drums. We need to fetch water and fill and stuffs like that. No matter the grace where they are ahead, no matter the play, as soon as it's after 3, instantly the spirit of division of labor kicks in. We begin to fix that parlor or that living room as if, do everything. Why? Because when Momsy comes in and the house is not as she left it, there's going to be some whooping. Those are ground rules. Somebody cannot come as a stranger and confuse us. Probably you can confuse us on other things, not on these established ground rules. This is where the generals failed, or rather, the Byzantine army failed, in the sense that the soldiers or the generals did not know how a typical emperor communicates. Because if they know how a typical emperor communicates, it doesn't matter the messenger. It doesn't matter the message. As they read the message, they can align with the worldview and the mentality and the philosophy of the emperor. But because there were no ground rules, as far as they are concerned, if it has the emperor's seal, they will act on it. So if the emperor actually wanted them to invade the city, but somebody intercepted the messenger, changed the message, and appended the emperor's seal, and in that message is draw back or go back home, there was no mechanism to vet. It is from this understanding that a life reflection or a fact or a truth claim was established. And what is that truth claim? The truth claim is, as long as you run an infrastructure centrally, you are bound to face loopholes. And there's also the issue of trust in the decentralized systems. What are we trying to say? We're trying to say that at the time wherein we're at the peak of fintech, at the peak of solutions development using technology, most especially around finances, we began to see that no matter how awesome those infrastructure are, because they were run centrally, there were some problems that never ceased to live. They always existed, and there were problems that has to do with loopholes in the system that were always exploited by hackers, and the list go on. Learning from the Byzantine problem gave rise to the concept of building technological system using the decentralized approach, not running technology from the center. On the contrary, decentralized the center. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what gave rise to the framework behind cryptocurrencies and blockchain extension. Having done that, now we're trying to say that centralized systems are not excellent. The answer is no. We have one of the best technologies, and in fact, one of the best technologies in the world are also centralized technologies. That's just the truth. The only thing that we cannot get past for decades is trustworthiness. How trustworthy it is. And I can allow you to think, how trustworthy are the use cases of centralized technologies? Academic infrastructure, as excellent as our universities are, haven't we heard of cases of fake certificates? How did that happen? Trustworthiness. How about our banks? As excellent as they are, haven't we have had issue of intrusion, hacking, and the rest? This takes us to trustworthiness. How about citizenship record of some countries? How comes that people could invade the boundary, move into those countries, go to a county, go to a local government, and secure for themselves citizenship? What is the verification process? How can we say that this is actually a true citizen of XYZ country? Centralized ledgers always have the issue of trustworthiness. What about medical records? As excellent as our hospitals are, haven't we have situations where in politics, a political rival have access to medical records of his political rival so that he can use it and tarnish his image? Haven't we seen this in many instances? Thus, we are not trying to say that centralized technologies are bad. In fact, they are one of the most excellent technologies we have. The only thing that we cannot get past is what? Trustworthiness. With this, we now move into the landscape of decentralized cryptocurrencies. And I think if you have been following me thus far, I think it's time for me to give you a round of applause or a pat on the back. You have done excellently fine. Now, in the landscape of cryptocurrencies, no other guy beats us welcome than the guy called Bitcoin. So welcome to decentralized cryptocurrencies and welcome to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is generally regarded as the gold of the crypto space, owing to the fact that it was designed to be scarce over time, and it has also seek to be a better store of value, most especially as compared to gold. Now, wait, let's not forget. Let's not forget that in our early submission, we made some great statements. And one of the many statements is that we established the fact that cryptocurrencies are 100% currencies, right? All right. And why do we say so? Because we went further to say that cryptocurrencies possesses the three main functions of any given currency, right? And we named those three main functions. Let's not forget unit of account. Let's not forget medium of exchange and store of value. Now, Bitcoin has gone to a different level to say, among all currencies that can give you value over time, I should be considered number one. This is pretty much what this statement means. Being scarce over time and seek to be a better store of value, even compared to gold. Now, that's a pretty huge statement. Well, let's go further. Bitcoin has a maximum supply of 21 million coins. It means that 21 million is the highest number of coins that can ever be in circulation. As of the time of documentation, we're pretty much around 19 million thereabouts. I need to go online to know the exact number, but over 19 million coins have already been minted and is in circulation. So pretty much when you do the deduction from 21 million, 19 million, so pretty much we have less than 2 million for grabs. All right, let's continue. Records has it that back in 2013, the price of one Bitcoin was plus or minus $65. 4 years later, in 2017, that same one Bitcoin moved a little bit over $1,000. In that very year of 2017, by the end of that year, December, one Bitcoin was no longer $1,000, went as high as $19,000. March 2 years ago, I think 3 years ago, 2021, one Bitcoin was $61,000. And someone will be left with no option but to ask, what exactly is the reason behind this huge surge? Like, seriously, if somebody was as informed as you are back in 2013 and could spend $65 to secure one Bitcoin, if the person decides to pretty much sell it now, that person would have made a whooping 94,000% in return on investment. And if you can put it in the terms of Naira, it means 100,000 Naira worth of Bitcoin back then would have given you nothing less than 90 million Naira. Now, this is not to even consider the falling state of the Naira on the FX floor. If you consider that, probably you might move into three-digit millions, as the case may be. So what exactly owes to this huge surge? This is what we're going to spend the rest of the time into diving in. We're going to dive into it. We're going to have a view into Bitcoin and get some insight. Let's not forget that Bitcoin went further to make a bold claim that among all currencies, she stands as the most valuable. Thus, we tend to ask, is Bitcoin really a store of value? Well, the stock to flow ratio gives us an idea. So pretty much this is a chart between, I don't know what's the right word. This is a chart that speaks of value. All right. So prior to 2015, based on data, Bitcoin was a little bit competing with silver. In a layman term, it means that if you have taken X amount of Naira or dollars or CDs to invest to buy silver and you buy Bitcoin, there wouldn't have been any marginable difference in the value you get. But by 2020, that investment you did on Bitcoin would have given you more return on investment as compared to silver. So in the post 2020, Bitcoin is pretty much trying to compete with gold. What are we trying to say? Based on historical data of price dynamics in the market, if you take X amount of money and buy gold, and take that same X amount of money and buy Bitcoin, based on previous performance, vis-a-vis future prediction, there's every tendency that your investment in Bitcoin will give you a better reward than gold next year. In fact, the margin will be so wide a decade from now. There are tons of articles on Bitcoin that are very handy. We cannot go through all. But for the sake of us being informed, there are three aspects of the development of Bitcoin that we should digest. The first is the proof of work consensus algorithm. The second is the concept of Bitcoin halving. And the third is the concept of what we call the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. These three concepts have been agreed to be the main reason behind the value of Bitcoin and the dynamics in price. Without wasting time, let's move straight. Proof of work. What is proof of work? Bitcoin operates in what we call proof of work consensus algorithm. Now, let's not forget where we're coming from. I think right now, with me using the word consensus algorithm, I think you are beginning to understand that it is pretty much the agreed language, on how the computers in that algorithm level communicate. I think good job. O is the ground rules, all right, on how the computer machines at the Bitcoin blockchain level communicates. Perfect. You've just hit the nail on the head. All right. So yes, Bitcoin operates in what we call proof of work consensus algorithm. It means that the machines in the Bitcoin blockchain have agreed to operate on what they call proof of work. Since we kind of understand what consensus algorithm may seem to mean, we may just pretty much have difficulty with this proof of work. So what does it mean? It means that for you to earn Bitcoin, you must have the machines to work for it. End of discussion. And these machines are heavy mainframe and mining rigs, super fast computers, more faster than the one I'm using right now. You see, cryptocurrencies are digital ledgers. We have explained this, that has value. So for the case of Bitcoin, every machine that is in the Bitcoin blockchain must work to discover virgin block. Wow, a new concept is introduced. What's that concept? Virgin block. What are we talking about? Let's not forget where we're coming from. We came from an understanding of the definition of blockchain. And we said the unit recording file of a blockchain is called what? A block. Right? And now in the proof of work consensus algorithm, we have been told that this block is actually what? Discovered. So the machines running as nodes in the blockchain are constantly fighting against one another to do what? To discover a virgin block. For a layman, to discover a new block. Why is it important for us to discover a new block? Because if we do not discover a new block, how can we write transactions? Because you cannot write transaction on an already filled block. And for you to get this new block, as in the case of Bitcoin, your machine must work for it. How does that machine work for it? By having a very fast processor in that your computer machine that can solve the mathematical puzzle or the mathematical algorithm. The faster your machine solves the puzzle, the higher your chances of discovering a Bitcoin block, or rather a virgin block. Now, this is the work. Now, let's assume you are the one that discovers this block. You get a thank you package inside that block. That thank you package is called what? Bitcoin. So whether you like the blocks or you don't like the blocks, for the fact that if you discover a new block in the blockchain and is accepted, your machine takes ownership of the reward laced inside that block. This is a very technical process. Now, let's assume you are the one who discovers this block. Your machine will broadcast it. So I'm pretty much going to do a little practical now. Let's do a little simulation. Simulation in the sense that we who are here are computer machines running on a given Bitcoin blockchain. So pretty much take you all, including myself, as computer machines. We have Bright, we have Chebube, we have Elizabeth, we have Fadel, we have Happiness, we have Husseini. I mean, the list go on. We have Sadiq. I mean, the list go on. There is Patience. The list go on. There's even a Techno K 17. There's a Pro. Let's just take ourselves as machines. You tell me, Benjamin, I want to mint Bitcoin. All right, I'll tell you, get the needed machines. You tell me, Benjamin, I have it. I said, good. I said, okay, you need to have steady power, steady internet, uplink and downlink. You said, Benjamin, I got it. I said, good. And I said, okay, you need to go to the Bitcoin blockchain website and download the Bitcoin blockchain software on your machine. You say, okay, Benjamin, I have done it. Now, I'll tell you that you need to have what we call an updated version of the blockchain. And you ask me, Benjamin, what do you mean by updated version of the blockchain? So for the fact that you have downloaded the Bitcoin software, you need to also update your machine, or what we call your workstation, to have the updated information about the blockchain. Let's not forget where we're coming from. We're coming from the understanding that the blockchain is actually a chain of blocks. And pretty much the blockchain went live in 2009. And pretty much we are what? In 2024. So for you to have an updated version of blockchain, you have to download all the blocks that have existed in the Bitcoin blockchain from 2009 to 2024, to be specific, September, to be specific, what's today's date, 18, to be specific, 10 p.m., to be specific, 17 minutes after 10. You have to download every block. So technically what we're trying to say, if we can use an analogy of alphabet, that the entire blocks in the Bitcoin blockchain is an alphabet, A being the first block, and pretty much Z being the last block that can ever be in the blockchain, we pretty much may be around, let's say, K. So for you to have an updated version of the blockchain, your machine must download all the data from A to K. A being what we call Genesis block, K being what we call candidate block. So you must download all the blocks from Genesis block, which is the first beginning block, Genesis being the word for beginning, and candidate being the current block that has been discovered in the blockchain. After you have done that, then will your machine be what? Online. Online in the sense that you can pick broadcasts from the blockchain, and you can also broadcast in the blockchain. I think you're beginning to understand the technicality of the consensus. So you have done that. Now, in the case of our A to Z, as A being candidate block, A being candidate block, and Z being the last block, and we are in K, it means that we all, having known that K is the candidate block, our job now is to discover, what do we say, a virgin block, a new block. And in this case, it should be block L. So I'm racing against you guys to discover block L. You guys are racing against me to discover block L. And the faster your processor, the higher your chances of solving the mathematical puzzle or the mathematical algorithm that will give you the probability of discovering the block. So let's say the machine Williams-Aldo discovered block L. What does Williams-Aldo do immediately he discovers? He does what? He broadcasts his block. Now, when he broadcasts this block, the broadcast goes to all the players in pretty much a mesh topology. Now, there is no trust in the blockchain. So when I receive the broadcast, I will inspect the broadcast. And I'm going to check with the rules, the consensus on how blocks must be discovered. And only when my machine confirms to the fact that William as a machine did exactly as it is required in the proof of work. In other words, all the checklists is correct. Technically, Williams just did what I would have done. Immediately, automatically, my machine confirms that the block discovery of a new block by the machine William is what? Valid. Now, when I confirm, the algorithm takes note of my confirmation one. It doesn't stop there. Of course, it has gone to many people, right? It has gone to many people. So pretty much Samuel receives it, confirms, the algorithm checks too. And let's say the third machine, pretty much, let's say Abdul Kader confirms 3. Now, let's not forget, if they are 20,000 nodes, 10,000 nodes, 500 nodes, 6,000 nodes in the whole world, this broadcast is going to reach all of them. But the algorithm wants the first 3 confirmations. As soon as the third confirmation is gotten, because let me break it down again. For you to confirm, it shows that definitely you are doing it from your computer, right? And there was a software, and the software, it's run cryptographically. Cryptographically in the sense that you have a wallet, and the wallet comes with infrastructures, passphrase, password, blah, 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 all cryptographically. So these are the credentials that does what? The confirmation, the confirmation, the confirmation. So when the third cryptographic confirmation is done, the new block automatically gets connected to the chain of blocks. So from A to K, being what have been in the blockchain, L becomes the new block, such that when transactions get filled up in K, it automatically moves to L and continues. But unlike for us, being William as the machine that discovered, Billy William takes over the Bitcoin that is inside that block. Of course, it is from a function of his machine, and his machine had the software, and as part of the rudimentary, he had to create his wallet. So that coin becomes an ownership property of the wallet in that machine. At that time, we can say, congratulations, you just mined Bitcoin. But we can agree that it's not just, excuse me, we can agree it's not just rocket science. We have to first discover virgin blocks, racing against one another, and anyone who first does it. What you don't know that the time allotted technically is 10 minutes. So now that we started by 9, and we're getting close to 10:30, for every of the 10 minutes, blocks have been discovered in the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, what happens? Now that it is the William machine that has discovered, and the broadcast have gone, it means that the candidate block is no longer K. The candidate block now is L. So what do? We reset the clock, and all of us start fighting for the next virgin block, which in this case should be what? M. Probably he who discovers M, the broadcast goes, and we all know that M is discovered. We now start fighting for what? N. I'm just using A, B, C, D, or the alphabet as an easy way for us to understand. So pretty much this is how it works, that the blocks before is cryptographically linked to the next block, and also the next block, and also the next block. Technically, a given Bitcoin block should have a header, a previous block address. So in other words, you cannot even discover block N minus 1 until you have the hash of the previous block, like in the case of KL, MN, timestamp, nouns, Merkle-Ruth. Now that's block N minus 1. So if we are going to look for block N, we are also going to quote the previous block address. And in this case, the previous block is block N minus 1. Likewise, block N plus 1 will quote block N as what? Its previous block address. This is automatic. The machine wherein the Bitcoin software is running is doing this in split seconds because everybody needs those data. I mean, you cannot even discover this block if you're using the wrong block address. How can you even get the right block address if you're not updated? Can you see how important that your machine should be 100% connected to the internet? So for instance, somebody may be thinking, so what happens when a particular, or what happens when the data gets off? You get offline, you go offline, and when you come back offline, you have to update your version of the blockchain. You cannot be seen online until you are at the current block. Because how can you discover the next block if you don't know the current block that has been discovered? Technical, right? So it means to say that mining Bitcoin is a technical process of discovering new Bitcoin blocks. And from the above explanation, it's fair to say, in this time of ours, Bitcoin is technically not free. It costs someone huge investment in supercomputers just to be able to mint a new Bitcoin block. The process is actually called mining because the work done to get a new Bitcoin out of the code in the algorithm level or in the software is a digital equivalent of the physical work someone will do to pull gold out of the earth. If you have not understand anything that I've said, the first thing you should take home is that getting Bitcoin is what? Difficult. It's very important that you understand this. Because for you to understand the economic model behind why Bitcoin is a currency of value, you must appreciate the difficulty laced in the minting process. This now takes us to Bitcoin halving. Let's not forget, we're trying to understand why is Bitcoin of value. And the first thing we just established is the fact that Bitcoin is of value because, first thing first, the process of minting Bitcoin is what? difficult. Hello? Sorry for that. Can you hear me before I continue? All right, thank you. Sorry, I cannot have control over these connectivity issues. Forgive me or forgive the infrastructure. Hmm? When we hammer, we'll change our ISP, Abi. So back to what I was saying, let me share the screen. Okay, pretty much, let me do it like this. I hope this will work. All right, halving. All right, this is where we are. So I was saying that pretty much around the concept of the algorithm lies what we call Bitcoin halving. And Bitcoin halving in layman's sense is dividing the reward by half. And let's not forget, we are coming from an understanding that first and foremost, your machine must discover a Bitcoin block. Why a block? Because a block is the recording infrastructure that writes transactions, right? But the blocks does not provide itself. It is participants or miners in the blockchain that race against one another based on the computing power of their machines to discover blocks. Whoever discovers a block gets a reward inside, but doesn't stop there. As we continue to get reward, we reach a certain threshold wherein the reward we get henceforth will be half of what we used to get yesterday or last month or last week. Let me explain. Let's use ourselves as an infrastructure, as a blockchain infrastructure. And part of our consensus algorithm is that when 100 blocks is discovered, let halving take effect. We all have agreed. And pretty much we are 46. Okay, let me consider even those who are pretty much viewing from Facebook. Let's say we are 80 players. 80 players with their machines, and the list go on. All right. Now, because there is a consensus algorithm that when 100 blocks have been discovered, and let's say the algorithm started with 50 coins, all right? 50 coins, let's call the coins SK coins, all right? 50 SK coins per block. So what does that mean? Is that the first guy who discovers the block, that block will be called Genesis block. And let's say in this case, it is Obiora that discovers the first block. Of course, he's going to get his 50 SK inside. Then the next second, the third, the fourth, then you reach a point that we are 82, 90, 94. When we reach 99, right? That will be the last machine that if the person discover a block, he's going to get 50 SK coins inside. Why? Because our halving threshold is 100. The next person that discovers 100, sorry, the next person that discovers 100, it should be 100. The next person that discovers 100, of course, the person is going to get his 50 SK. But by so discovering 100, activates the halving threshold. So it means that when 101, the 101th machine that discovers a block, by that time is going to get half of the reward. So that means from 101 to 200 is no longer 50. Worst case scenario, 25 SK coins. Why? Halving. The threshold is 100. Now, though these guys will be having 25K, even the 200 machine or the machine that discovered the 200 block will also have his 25 SK, but by also having his 25 SK triggers another halving. Thus, from 201, we expect to have 25, half of 25. Thus, from 201 to let's say 300, the reward will be what? 12.5 SK coins. Difficulty have not reduced. In fact, is even getting more difficult. Yet, reward has been reduced. Whoever is the machine that discovered the 300 block, of course, got his 12.5, but by so doing, triggers a halving at that time. Thus, from 301 to 400 is pretty much 12.5 divided by 2y halving. So worst case scenario, this category of miners will only get 6.25. It implies that from 401 to 500, best case scenario is 3.125. I think this is beginning to make us understand. Now, this is actually what happens in the minting process. That as miners collectively discover blocks, as miners collectively discover blocks, when they reach a certain threshold, halving is triggered. So let's have the details of the halving. So prior to the pre-halving, it pretty much is that when Bitcoin went live in 2009, pretty much they are saying it went live in 2009. And the reward that people got for discovering a block was 50 Bitcoins. There is it. Now there's what we call the halving was built on what we call the block span rule. The block span rule is trying to say that when 210,000 blocks are discovered, let halving happen. And I think let's break it down. Excuse me. Let's break it down. Let me take my calculator. Please, if you can see my calculator, give me a feedback. Is my calculator visible? Yes, thank you, Ibrahim. So pretty much what are you trying to say? 210, excuse me, 210,000 is the block span. So Abdul Kadir discovers the block, one. Who is the next person? Discover a block, Sadiq, Onu Joshua, Ola, Pilot. I mean, the list go on. The more we discover, the more the block count goes. Now, let's not forget where we're coming from. We're coming from an understanding that the time frame to discover block is 10 minutes. I said so, right? So for us to discover 210,000 blocks, if we divide it by 10 minutes, that will give us the number of minutes it would take to exhaust, which is 21,000 minutes. All right? Or rather, we can do it this way. 210,000. We know 60 minutes make an hour, right? So we'll divide it by 60. Sorry. When we divide it by 60, this gives us the number of hours, right? When we divide it by 24, this gives us, I'm coming, I didn't get it right. 210,000, right? That's it now. And it takes 10 minutes to discover a block. So if 10 minutes to discover a block, it means we will discover 6 blocks in 1 hour, right? It means that in a day, we will discover 144 blocks, all right? So pretty much 210,000 blocks divided by the average that we can discover in a day. That will give us the number of days it will take for us to exhaust 210,000 blocks, which is pretty much 1,458 days. Now, when you convert it to years, which actually is made of 365 days, that makes a year, pretty much you're going to come to 3.99 years, which is technically 4 years. This is why, if you see, the time frame is for 4 years. You can see. So technically, let's come back. Let me go this way. Pre-halving, halving has never started, but mining started. So they began to mine. First guy 1, second guy 2, third machine 3. Then they reached 100,000 blocks. Good. They then reached 200,000 blocks. Then they reached 209,999 blocks. The machine that discovered the 230,000 block, of course, took home his 50 Bitcoins as reward, but by so doing triggered the first halving. Thus, by 2012, the first halving happened. But because halving happened, reward will no longer be 50 Bitcoins. Reward will be what? 25 Bitcoins. So they continued block discovery. Of course, they have passed the 210,000 threshold, but the block span is 210. Thus, the next halving will happen at 420,000 blocks discovered. Thus, they began to compete against one another, or up till the 420,000 block was discovered. Whoever discovers or whoever discovered the 420,000 block pretty much took home his 25 Bitcoins, but by so doing triggered the third halving, or rather the second halving. The second halving pretty much was around 2016 to 2020. Block discovery continued between 420,000 blocks to 630,000 blocks. If you do the separation, you realize that the block span rule of 210,000 blocks remains intact. But on the contrary, nobody is making 25 Bitcoins as reward. On the contrary, each block discovery comes with a reward of a minted 12.5 Bitcoin. The machine that is supposed to discover the 630th block, when that machine discovered the 630,000th block, of course, took home his or her 12.5 Bitcoins, but by so doing, triggered the third halving. The third halving started between 2020 to 2024. I think now you understand why it's 4 years, because every block discovery period is 10 minutes. You do 10 minutes in a day, you go on. So block discovery was between 630,000 blocks to 840. So by April this year, 2024, the 840,000 block was discovered. Of course, the reward was half of 12.5. So whoever was the machine that discovered the 840,000 block got his 6.25, but by so doing triggered the fourth halving. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are. The fourth halving began in April this year. It's expected to end in 2028. The block span rule remains the same. At this point, we have passed the 848,000 block already discovered, and we are racing towards the next halving, wherein we are going to cross over 1 million blocks in the Bitcoin blockchain. But on the contrary, nobody makes 6 Bitcoin. Worst case scenario, everybody makes 3.125 Bitcoin. 3.125 Bitcoin. Excuse me. Okay. Now, if that's the case, feedback, please. Is the screen visible? Calculator, screen, everything. Feedback, please. Thank you. Is it visible? Thank you. Thank you. So pretty much, if the reward we make is 3.125, and we need, that's what you make per block. And for us to reach the next halving, we have to discover 210,000 blocks. It means only 656,000 Bitcoins is up for grabs from now to 2028. It means from 2028 to 2032, all we need to do is half it, right? It means from 2028 to 2032, only 328,000 Bitcoins will be available for grabs. It tells us that from 2032 to 36, we divide it by 2, tells us that it's only 164,000 Bitcoins that will be up for grabs. 236 to 240, we divide it by 2. It means only 82,000 Bitcoins will be for grabs. So from 240 to 244, of course, I want to believe you understand my flow, having established the mathematical constant. So for 240 to 244, all we need to do is what? Excuse me. Divide by 2. Only 41,000 Bitcoins will be up for grabs. So 44 to 48, what do we expect? 20,000 Bitcoins. 48 to 2052, 10,000 Bitcoins will be up for grabs in 4 years. 52 to 56, I will stop here. Only 5,000 Bitcoins will be up for grabs for the whole world. Now, let's not forget. That's what is for grabs in 4 years. So if you divide it by 4 years, this is what is up for grabs in a calendar year. We divide it by the number of days that is available in a year, 365. It means only 3 Bitcoins will be up for grabs in a day. In the post 2050 something. All the miners in the world are fighting for a total of 3.5 Bitcoins in a given day in the post 2050. And let's not forget, this is what you get in a day, right? So pretty much if you want to put it in an hour, we divide it by 24. 0.1 Bitcoin can be discovered in an hour. And since the block discovery is in 10 minutes, we divide it by 6. Since there are 60 minutes, that makes 1 hour. 0.024 Bitcoin. So pretty much whoever is making 3.1 Bitcoins right now, and for those who will be minting 0.024 Bitcoins in the future, they will be glad that they once minted Bitcoin at 3 Bitcoins per block. Just as those who were in the business as far back as 2009 minted 50 Bitcoins per block. If there's anything you didn't take home, is that the proof of work, the mining established what? Difficulty. Right? Now, halving has established what? Scarcity. These are the two reasons why the price of Bitcoin can never go low. It's difficult to find, and even when you find, when the threshold is reached, only half of the reward is gotten. The layman scenario I can give for you to understand is pretty much, let's say we're in a commodity market. We're in a commodity market. You and I are in a commodity market. And let's say we are buying rice. For reasons best known to us, or known, 100,000 naira could give us 10 bags of rice. I'm a player, you're a player. For reasons we cannot control, 100,000 naira can no longer give you 10 bags of rice. Best case scenario, 100,000 naira gives you 5 bags of rice. How much will you sell one bag? It doesn't stop there. We continued in the rice commodity business and it reached a point wherein 100,000 naira can no longer secure 5 bags of rice for you. Worst case scenario, 2.5 bags of rice. How much will you sell one bag? This is exactly what plays to the miners. Because you see, 99% of all the Bitcoin that is discovered via mining get dumped in crypto exchanges. So definitely this is what plays hands. This now takes us to the last session, the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Now, the Bitcoin 4-year cycle is not a technique as compared to proof of work and halving, all right? The Bitcoin 4-year cycle is knowledge gain from data gathering that we have gathered over a year. So pretty much on the left, we have seen what mining have done, created difficulty. Nobody is contesting that. On the right, we then see what halving has done, brought an additional layer of scarcity. Nobody contested that. But we began to gather knowledge from this data. We then realized that somehow halving affects the crypto market because halving compounds on the difficulty of minting Bitcoin. And since crypto exchanges are the primary audience that buys up the coins minted by miners, there's an express market access. We then realized that these key technical events, halving and mining, affects somehow the price of Bitcoin in the market. Thus, you having a grounded understanding of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle will help you come to a conclusion that in these 4 years that halving oftentimes happens, I don't think I need to explain the 4 years again. I have broken it down from minutes to hour to days. We now discover the number of blocks that can be discovered in a day. Knowing that halving has a threshold of 210,000 blocks, we did the mathematical gimmick and we came to the conclusion of technically 3.99 years, which is approximately 4 years. So we can agree that in these 4 years, crazy dynamics happen. At some point, Bitcoin not only rises to give gains, but in some part it also falls to make losses. Your understanding, my understanding of the Bitcoin cycle will help you and me to be better prepared if we are going to go into the business of maximizing our gains and minimizing our losses, most especially for the person who is venturing into the crypto space. Now, this is an analysis. It has always been that, and pretty much this current cycle will either add more weight to this or give us room to change this analysis. But for every year that Bitcoin halving happens, the end of that year, up to the first quarter of the second year, the price of Bitcoin begins to go up. That's the first knowledge point. This knowledge point should be, oftentimes, this is what I said to my student in the Blockchain Financial Intelligence Masterclass last year. I said, outside your Bible and outside your Quran, this should be something you should know by heart. Very, very important if you want to be successful in the market. When a halving happens, even though this year we had some exception, but the year is not over. So till pretty much Q1 next year, we'll be able to ascertain if first knowledge point was a success. Okay? So, first knowledge point. In the year of halving, so let's make it very clear. Year of halving, let's take 2020. They are saying by the end of that year, which is December 2020, up to the first quarter of the second year, in this case, 2021, what do we expect Bitcoin shows gains? Knowledge point 2. Now we are in the second year. They are now saying in the fourth quarter, oftentimes October, November, December, that the price of Bitcoin may surpass its previous price. So whatever was the price of Bitcoin in this year, by the end of the next year, we may even see a higher price. They went and added that in some situations, but in history, it has been in the fourth quarter. But we may, in the future, see it in the second quarter or the third quarter. Second quarter, maybe June. Third quarter, maybe August. Pretty much September now is third quarter. But oftentimes, the top is always in the fourth quarter. These first 2 years are very important. Then they said something very important. After that is a fall. After that is a fall. Let's continue. That this fall will continue in the third year. Let's not forget, 2020 was the first year. 21 was the second year. Now they are saying the fall begins in the third year. All through the third year, even into the fourth year. This is called market correction. That not until a new halving happens, pretty much in this case, 4 years from 2020 is what? 2024. Not until a new halving happens, market may not go up. Thus, halving happens end of that year, go up. Second year, even higher. Third year is marked with a fall. Fourth year, a perfect fall. Then when we are beginning to see a new halving happening, we begin to see that price is no longer going down, it's tilting and pretty much preparing to go up. Why? New halving creates a new cycle of scarcity. Thus, even if prior to the halving, the buyers had control, they were buying from the miners at the cheapest price. When halving happens, the miners can no longer sell at that cheap. Why? They are just getting half of what they were getting before. Imagine you spend so million dollars or thousands of dollars to build the hardware, and all of a sudden, that hardware can no longer give you as much as it was giving you before. Thus, that instantly affects your selling price. So when halving happens, sellers take over. They no longer want to sell cheap. And we have realized that after every halving, this cycle repeats itself. So pretty much this is the chart. These black lines are the year of halvings. This is 2012. This is 2016. This is 2020. That just ended in April. So let's look at what the rule says. In the year of halving, by the end of that year, end of 2012, up to the first quarter of the second year, first quarter of 2013, they said Bitcoin shows gain. So this is first knowledge point, one. Second knowledge point went further to now say, now in that second year, this case 2013, by the Q4, by the end of that second year, they say Bitcoin even goes higher, surpassing its previous level. In this case, going higher, which is 2. But they now said after that is a fall. They said that this fall goes all through the third year, in this case 2014, there's a fall, and even up to the fourth year, in this case 2015. Not until a new halving happens, we may not see price tilting upward. So pretty much the next halving was in 2016, and that was where we begin to see that close to 2016, price sentiment started going up. But if this is true, let's see if this analysis repeats itself in the 2016 halving. 2016 halving happened in 2016. Rule number 1 says by the end of that year, thus by the end of 2016, up to the first quarter of 2017, price should go up. And what do we see? Price went up. So 1. It doesn't stop there. They now said in the second year after halving, in this case, we're past 2016, we're in 2017. They said by the fourth quarter, pretty much October, November, December, just before the new year 2018, we saw a blow off. 2. Price surpassing its previous level. But after that, they said is a fall. That fall is marked by the third year, in this case 2018, because 18 is that year from 2016, even into the fourth year 2019. Not until a new halving happens, price will not go up. Thus, by 2020, halving was happening, then price sentiment begin to go up. This is a knowledge that most players have understood, and then this knowledge influenced their investment decision. So pretty much this is technically a zoom out, 2016, 2020, this is 2024. So we have gotten more data. This is a very old screenshot. So pretty much, let me see whether I can do something different. Let me take my browser. Sorry, let me go to trading view. Please, if my browser is visible, give me a feedback. My browser is visible, give me a feedback. All right, thank you, thank you. So pretty much, this is 2016, this is 2020, this is 2024. We can see pretty much year of halving. By the end of that year, up to the first quarter, we see some going up. Okay? That's first knowledge point. First knowledge point. First wave. Okay? First wave. The second wave happens in the second year after halving, which in this case, 2017. By the time that we are going to the end of 2017, you can see that the highest 2 candles for Bitcoin was in the month of December vis-a-vis January 2018. In fact, January was pretty much a red candle. So market has started falling. But the highest candle was December 2017. Price was highest. Second knowledge point. But after that, they said it's a fall. That fall went through the second year, the third year, and in this case, 2018, up to the third year. In fact, the lowest was in the third year. Just between the second year and the third year, December 2018, January 2019. up until the next halving. Next halving happened 2020. What does it say? First knowledge point. By the end of 2020, end of first year, vis-a-vis first quarter of the second year, you can see this is February, March, Bitcoin shows some gains. So you can agree with me that this was it. It doesn't stop there. They now said in the second year after halving, which is the 2021, by the fourth quarter, Bitcoin shows higher gains. You can see that these two candles, this is an October candle, and this is a November candle, all in Q4. But after that was a fall. Okay. Now, we have a few exceptions here because this blow off before halving. Now, this is the year of halving. By the year of halving, price already high. And pretty much we are going to the end of the year of halving. Thus, we are expecting to see, will 2024 go beyond the 72K? So are we going to see October, November, December somewhere here up to the Q1? So in other words, November, December, January, February, probably March. Are we going to see the first wave? You know, this first wave. Are we going to see a first wave? There may be a correction. Probably first wave may touch 100K. There may be a correction. As we can see correction, as you can see first wave, you can see this correction. You can see first wave, you can see correction before second wave. So probably we may see first wave, then second wave, before we now go officially into the bear market. This is very, very, very important. Let me go back to the slides. Okay? Very, very important. Why? Your understanding of this, you may not be a player in the minting process. You may not have the hardware to mint Bitcoin. You may not have the hardware to compete. But because there was an economic model around the Bitcoin blockchain, powered by proof of work, powered by halving, it constantly injects scarcity and difficulty. This scarcity and difficulty is felt in the market. Why is it felt in the market? I'm coming. Let's go to the browser. Let me just pretty much do it now. CoinGecko. You can get this information from CoinMarketCap. You can get this from CoinGecko. Let me tell you why this information is very important in the market. Now, forget the number of coins that are in the market. Pretty much we are sitting around 2.1 trillion capitalization. This is where your attention should be dominant. Let me take my calculator. Dominance. The market is saying that of all the monies invested in the crypto market, Bitcoin alone is sitting on top of half of all the investments. This is an information that should influence your investment decision. Whether you like Bitcoin or you don't like Bitcoin. For the fact that Bitcoin sits at the 54th percentile of dominance, it means that of the 2.1 trillion, Bitcoin alone is sitting at 1.9 trillion alone. The next guy is Ethereum, which is sitting at 12%. So Bitcoin and Ethereum alone are sitting at over 60% of all the investments invested in the currencies in the currency market. For the layman, what does this imply? It implies that if Bitcoin goes left, the market goes left. Why? Half of all the investment has gone left. If Bitcoin goes right, the market goes right. And right now we have understood the conditions that has influenced the movement of Bitcoin in every given 4-year cycle. Powered by difficulty, powered by scarcity. Thus, back to the slide. It's important for us to understand that the first 2 years after halving is always appreciated with price gains. You may not invest in Bitcoin, but if you are investing in anything, you better have invested before the end of the first year after halving. And after you have invested, pretty much what are we trying to say? If this is halving, this is halving, this is halving, you shouldn't be buying any coin that is a potential player 1 year after halving. Your best option is to buy before halving. But let's assume you didn't have that information. You should secure your position before the end of that year of halving. Why? As Bitcoin begins to show gains, history has proven that most, if not all, performing altcoins also follow Bitcoin to show gain. It's pretty much a function of follow who know road, if you understand that concept. Same thing. So pretty much that's what I've said. So this is just a summary of what has happened in 2016. Prior to halving, Bitcoin was less than 1,000. When halving happened, Bitcoin shoot from $600 to $1,000 in the end of the first year of halving. That's at the end of 2016. By January 2017, Bitcoin has already crossed $1,000. I was in the market back then. It didn't stop there. By the end of 2017, which was the second year after halving, Q4, Bitcoin shoot from 1,000. In fact, we entered December. Those who are in the market, you can give me feedback. We entered December, Bitcoin was already 10K. As in that Christmas period of 2027, vis-a-vis New Year 2028, Bitcoin was just hitting stuffs. But unlike you and me, most people in the industry, or most people, began to start buying Bitcoin in January 2018. While actually, those who made profit were those who bought Bitcoin before halving in July 2016. All right. After they bought, since the Bitcoin 4-year cycle says the third year and the fourth year is marked by what? Market fall, right? Price then fall from 19,000 to the 4,000 region. I think I was in the market when Bitcoin was at least 3.6 thereabout in 2019, December 2018, 2019. That's where the famous Bitcoin has crashed, Bitcoin have crashed, Bitcoin have crashed. Why? Majority of the players bought Bitcoin because of the news. But the most profitable people bought into the asset around the halving calendar. But you cannot buy around the halving calendar if you are not informed. You need to know what is halving, and you cannot even understand what is halving till you know what is proof of work, mining. Thus, the halving calendar is there. I mean, if we go right now, excuse me. If we go right now, excuse me, and we type Bitcoin halving, we should see information. Countdown. Bitcoin halving countdown. I don't know which one we should choose, but anyone we choose, it will tell us when the next halving will happen. March 28th, 2028. I mean, they will tell you the number of blocks that have been discovered. You see, the 861,000 blocks have been discovered. 98, 97, 96, 95. The 861,898 block was discovered some few minutes ago. Block height. I mean, right? And we are racing to 1 million blocks. I just really want you to understand that people don't just buy assets for fun. Back to the slide. People don't just buy assets for fun, but majority of the participants in the crypto market have not come. Till the end of this year, the first wave of them will come. These are people that would take their 13 months all the monies that they have saved from January to December, and they want to feel crypto. Oftentimes, that's what we have seen in the previous cycles. And the real boom will happen next year, because next year you will hear countless use cases: restaurants accepting crypto, hotels accepting crypto, transaction, rideshare, taxi, crypto. You are watching news, as a column for crypto. Now, probably when we go to, we'll deal with this in subsequent modules, but pretty much I just want to paint that narrative. All right. We then entered the 2020 halving. Even as price fell to 3K, at halving, price went up to 8K, right? But by the end of 2020, up to the first quarter of 2021, it moved from 8K to 61K. I think 63 thereabout. Then fell back, and by the end of 2021, second year after halving, it went as high as 67K. All right. Now, when we begin to say that Bitcoin is a better store of value, look at the value chart of Bitcoin from day one to now. You can see that regardless of market crash, market did not crash, the trajectory has been upward. Why? Scarcity and what? Difficulty. So technically from this, we can now understand that halving is the decider of the bull market. Because after halving is marked by the bull market. After the bull market, then a bear market. Then after bear market, we'll now go into what we call accumulation, recumulation, and expansion in preparation for another halving, which triggers the next bull market. After then, we now get the next bear market. Then we'll go into what we call accumulation, expansion, and recumulations. Okay? As I've said, this is pretty much the current market. And this is pretty much the privilege. It's a privilege for me to see pretty much my third bull run. I was here, and I may see here by the grace of God. So pretty much, this is the first module, blockchain, Bitcoin, landscape of cryptocurrencies. I'll be giving room for questions. I'll be going to the chat. And you have questions, you can type it. For the sake of orderliness, I will not be telling you to unmute your mics, but please, in the next few minutes, I'll respond to the questions on the first ask, first answer, while I prepare the slides for the second module, and then we'll call it a day as we prepare for tomorrow. Any question? If you do not have any question, then pretty much you can just reply nothing, nothing, nothing. When I see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 nothings, it gives me the feedback that we are good to go. So probably somebody is typing. Okay, is FTT token the utility token of FTX still a reasonable buy, given that BlackRock has a large holding in it with the whole Sam Bankman-Fried scandal? So why don't we? So pretty much it's something that we may consider tomorrow in professional issues in the crypto space. But again, so this is it. We may do a little of coin analysis in the course of this course too. So this is it. First things first. Majority of the altcoins follow the narrative built by Bitcoin. All right. Let's be very, very honest. And you don't do sentiment here. All right. One thing that I have known is that I don't play sentiment. I play into the window of entry. I also play into the exit of the market. Whether you have sentimental attachment with any coin, buy at the right time and sell at the right time. Now, when we go to professional issues in the crypto space, the FTX saga is a case study we'll review. You'll be in a better position, Ola, to know what actually transpired. And you'll be in a better position to know if very much the market dynamics can absorb it price-wise. But I would say the whole reason why you should buy X coin, Y coin, Z coin is because based on surrounding evidences and research, it looks like a coin that will mimic the Bitcoin. In other words, when Bitcoin is going up, that coin is also going up. All right. And because of that, that is the basic technical information you need to make your investment decision. All right. How many levels of investment do we have in the Bitcoin business? Well, I don't know what it means, but maybe by the end of the course where you can pretty much have a few. I cannot say I have the know-how to say there are this level of investment, that level of investment. But this courseware is targeted for the person who is pretty much into entry. So there is the investment cycle that follows the market cycle, and that's long term. And there's an investment cycle that follows the market at the short term, intraday, weekly charts and stuff like that. That's another investment cycle. There's the one that goes into DeFi, right? You make profiting from loaning, lending, and stuff like that. Decentralized finance, that's another cycle. There's the one that goes into futures. That's another cycle. There's the one that goes into decentralized services. Like for me, I run a master node of a given proof of stake blockchain. And I mint coins every 2 days and 6 hours. Depending on the dollar price of the coin, I go back to the exchange and I sell it. It's not as difficult as proof of work because my little workstation is good enough. Even though my server, pretty much we use virtual servers, and my server is somewhere in Germany as we speak. Courtesy of the fact that I reside in a country that cannot guarantee me light from January to December without glitches, and cannot guarantee me internet from January to December without glitches. So pretty much it is my best interest to rely on virtual service. So pretty much just as websites are hosted on virtual servers, so also proof of work nodes. So there are many cycles, okay? Decay, many cycles. This is just a jump start, as I've said in the beginning, but to give you valid information for you to make your investment. Akati, what coin can we buy? Unfortunately, I'm not that professional to tell you what to buy. I think you come from many cycles of communities, and I think there are many players in the game. Most of you are coming from recommendations from my colleagues, Mojo, Vindicated, Chidi, Miss Fate, Tola, and the list go on. So pretty much, you need more than me to make an informed decision on what coin to buy. But pretty much we are beginning to understand that should you buy any coin, you either should have surrounding data, either from history, either from analysis, either from community, that this coin will do nothing but mimic the Bitcoin. Because the economic model in the Bitcoin blockchain only affects Bitcoin. It's just that Bitcoin sitting at a 52% dominance also affects the market. So you better not get a coin that will not do the simple job of following Bitcoin. Bitcoin go left, I will go left. Bitcoin go right, I will go right. Because technically, economically, we may not be able to afford one Bitcoin, right? Question, who is mining Bitcoin? Human beings who went to the superstore and bought the machine that meets the mining configuration, or rather mining specifications. All right. So back in 2009, this laptop that I'm talking with you actually minted some Bitcoins. I think as low as a Celeron laptop, not even a Pentium, as low as a Celeron laptop as far back as 2009 could mint Bitcoins. But because difficulty was coined in the algorithm, the faster you solve the problems, the higher chances of discovering a block, a virgin block. Thus, it makes sense that a faster processing laptop will solve the problem faster than a Celeron laptop, right? Then we now enter the league of fast processing laptop. Then we now realize that I-cores could process faster than Pentiums in some cases. Then we now went into the world of Pentium. Then we now realize that GPUs were pretty much better. Now we are into NVIDIA is building one of the fastest chips. And the faster the chips, the more costly it is. So it's actually people who invested in the hardware and installed the hardware. So pretty much this now takes us to decentralization, right? You don't need permission by anyone. You have the hardware, you have the requirements, you can access go to the developer website and you can download the software, update the software, and you start. Okay. Bitcoin went to an all-time high before halving this year, which has never happened before, and I think should expect more changes in this. Should we expect more changes in this pattern? So pretty much, thank you for that question. We will discuss that pretty much by Saturday, day 4. We would have trashed this concept back to back. But for the sake of your question, let me say this. Prior to 2024, the big players were retail investors. Well, I think the only thing you can understand about retail investors are what people call whales, right? Retail investors. Institutional investors didn't come. Why? Institutional investors are institutions. And it is with institutional investors that the real money in the world are. When I talk about institutional investors, I'm talking about the Microsoft, the Nokia, the Coca-Cola, the Google. These are institutions. Most of the monies are with them. But because of the way we have come a long way, right? In the beginning, it's pretty much a no-go area for them. But we are moving into what we call global adoption. And in global adoption, there are key players, all right? The first key player in global adoption is the user, you and me, all right? The second key player is pretty much what we call the developer community. What developer community? The brains behind the blockchains, the brains behind the smart contracts, the brains behind, so they created the technology, and pretty much the technology is doing one or two good things, plus or minus, right? Then the third key player is the institutional investors. Now, these are the players that in real life offer real goods and offer real services to us. And prior to now, or even now, the means of payment is fiat, dollars, pounds, naira, in the case. So since we've already established that cryptocurrency is also a currency, then and in the next module, we'll come to understand why even cryptocurrency is even a better technology infrastructure. But for the fact that it's a better technology infrastructure, that doesn't mean that they should just jump in. Why? These institutions are governed by laws are governed by license. So they wouldn't have jumped into investing in this new technology niche without approval. This is why there was what we call an ETF application. Most of Q4 of last year, and pretty much as we entered 2024, the approval for Bitcoin went. I think pretty much we now have we are done with Bitcoin, we're done with Ethereum. We are even looking forward to a Solana ETF approval. So that approval then brought in institutional investors alongside retail investors, because you see, retail investors were pretty much the big guys as far back as 2016, 2020. Now we now have institutional investors, and there are more money in institutional investors. That created an intermediate or a short-term market rally, which pretty much was good for the market, and in the long time, too bad for you and me, because you see, these institutions are bent on taking all your coins. Technology-wise, you have been given room to express yourself, right? So they can tank the market either side to instill fear in you. And if you do not make your investment decision based on knowledge, you make it based on emotions, you may be forced to give away a significant percentage of your coins. When they are done taking as much as they want in a given market cycle, as they influence it to go up, and also influence it to go down, and also influence it to go up again. This is pretty much our intermediate market narratives that you should build on this. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. The questions are plenty, and we do not have time. Because of time, I have to move to the next model, which is why crypto. Let me see if there are questions from Facebook. All right. Okay. Not much. All right. I'm getting, just to be sure of the feedbacks I'm getting. All right, we're good to go. For other questions, probably you can export it to the WhatsApp group so that I can attend to it. Please, a feedback, if you can see the screen. If the screen is visible, please give me a feedback. All right, visible, thank you. Now we go on to model 2, why crypto? Brighton, pretty much our time is past, so we need to finish in time. All right, it's night. If it's a question, please just get prepared to just drop it on the WhatsApp channel. When it's unlocked. Okay, pretty much I'll unlock it as soon as the class is over, so that anybody who wants to post anything can post, so that we can see how we can go. So this model, pretty much we want to answer the question, why cryptocurrency? You know, some have come from the stories that this is another version of Yahoo Yahoo. Some have come from the stories that this is pretty much an MLM, multi-level marketing, you know, MMM. There are a lot of narratives. But from a technical point of view, what is crypto? We have come from an understanding that is indeed a currency. But pretty much this model seeks to contextualize this technology infrastructure in a benchmarking or in a comparison fashion, so that we pretty much hit the nail on the head. And we're going to do this comparison across 3 main areas: privacy, scalability, and security. All right. The purpose of this very model is to lay firm foundations on the significance of crypto and also make a strong case why you and me should know, not only know, you and me should appreciate, not only appreciate, you and me should make informed use of the ideas, the technology, and the futures wrapped around this financial technology infrastructure. Because through this, we expect to ignite in ourselves renewed appreciation of these global trends. So pretty much it's something that's happening worldwide. And because it's happening as a trend, it comes with tangible benefits only to those who seize the opportunities. All right. One of the main use cases in crypto is the financial sector, or what we call the money business services. And traditionally, the generic or the traditional financial technology infrastructure has been the backbone that powers what we call money business services. So let me break this down. Before now, the only financial technology infrastructure that we know is the traditional financial technology infrastructure. That's what we know. This crypto thing is pretty much a new thing. All we have known from day one today, technology-wise, around the money business industry or around finances or around currencies is powered by our traditional financial technology infrastructure, vis-a-vis our banks, vis-a-vis our insurance institution, vis-a-vis markets, the list to go on. This is what we have known. But also with this knowledge comes some hard pills or some pinches of salt in the sense of regulations, in the sense of levies, in the sense of controls from entities that have empowered this technology, or the entities behind this technology infrastructure that have pretty much wrapped our money business services around. Now, if pretty much that was all, that would have been fine. But despite this regulation, despite these levies and authorities, we are beginning to see that even the infrastructure of some sort is beginning to go, the quality is beginning to go down. Gone are the days where we can, you do a little sampling of data, which bank is the best. And we'll come to a conclusion that we have not yet gotten the best banking services, because the more the need for transaction gets complex, the more we are finding challenges with quality of service, giving rooms for what? Dissatisfaction. It doesn't stop there. We are still dealing with the issues of theft and loss of customer banking credentials, either within the banking infrastructure due to their poor network, their poor machines, or somebody smarter than those who are inside the infrastructure, or even pretty much insecurities that comes from unsafe activities by the user. These have made our traditional banking or our traditional financial technology infrastructure not a top notch. And it's not only in our part of the world. It's a global phenomenon. And as more as we dive into what we call fintech space, and as more we begin to develop what we call smart devices with futures that just proves that our computing terminal, which is our smartphones, can do so much more, we are beginning to see increased level of dissatisfaction, because unlike before, the direction of finance is going global. without borders. Gone are the days where boundaries, national boundaries, are a determining factor for global financial transactions. It doesn't continue that way anymore. So in view of this, probably is right for us to now introduce this new financial technology infrastructure alongside the one we have known before. Thus, I can say our traditional financial technology infrastructure, which is part of our banking system, is like on the left. And now a new financial technology infrastructure on the right called crypto, vis-a-vis blockchain. We already established this now in the first model, where we say it's 100% a currency in the sense that it possesses the main functions of every currency. It goes further that it also have a finite boundary as powered by its blockchain, just as our Apex Bank, whether it's the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Central Bank of Ghana, have also given our national currency a finite boundary, right? So pretty much both functionalities are giving us 100% sense of an idea that these are financial technology infrastructures. So the best way we can appreciate cryptocurrency as a financial technology infrastructure is when we benchmark it with the traditional financial technology infrastructure that we know. And we're going to do it across three main areas. And the first is privacy. So what is privacy? Dictionary definition defines privacy as the state in which an information about you and information about me, including both you and me, is not observed or is not accessible by any other person, except we allow that to happen, thus giving us room to express ourselves selectively. When something is private to you, when something is private to me, it usually means that that very thing is inherently special or sensitive to you or me. In the technology sphere, data privacy can also be seen as the aspect of technology that deals with the ability of an organization or individual to determine what data about their IT infrastructure should be shared to third parties. Sad to say, since our case study is around financing, it's very sad that we who are on document, or rather the owners of our monies, don't have control about our finances and how or who should information about our finances should be opened to. Okay? In fact, it has gone to the point that we cannot even have a financial service within the traditional technology, within the traditional financial technology infrastructure. They will not be able to give us any world-class service unless we agree to them saying we are okay with them using our data for what they call third-party purposes. It doesn't stop there. As if that is not enough, we are even further requested to agree that these financial service providers, in our case banks, are at will to change the terms and conditions, even when we do not know which of the terms will be changed. And should it be changed, how does it affect us? This created a global concern. The steaming public wanted something better. Probably, crypto came to save the day. Let's consider this. Recent stories of kidnappings, at least from this side of the world and other part of the world, show that assailants in some situation had full information about the financial standing of their victims, and in some cases, those close to them. Now, the big question is this: how did this happen? How on earth did they have grounded, up-to-date information about the financial standing of their victims? Could it be that they sort of paid someone within the financial infrastructure, within the walls of the institution, to give them such sensitive information. Now, this now brings us to the issue of privacy. I mean, let's pause and think. I mean, we're in the 21st century, right? Is it that, can we all agree that in this era of our civilization, data science, in this era of our civilization where technology and we have smart devices, can we all agree that privacy is a core necessity of our social life? I kind of like agree. So what then does crypto as a financial technology infrastructure brings in the sense of privacy that sort of will give us that edge for us to pretty much have a clearer, better, more streamlined opinion about this technology infrastructure? Well, on this side of the technology infrastructure, cryptocurrency uses what we call cryptography as a backbone in ensuring a close to perfect privacy experience with your digital asset. In this case, your digital asset is your currency. You see, here within this infrastructure, digital assets, which are your coins, are encrypted with at least two keys, a public key and a private key. And in some situation, additional biometrics. Those who pretty much have studied security, will understand that we call it public key infrastructure, a core part of cryptography. Oftentimes, your wallet addresses is a perfect replica of the public key and is oftentimes paired with a password, passphrase, whether it's 12 or 24, that makes the private key component of this key infrastructure. What are we trying to say? You cannot have a standard wallet infrastructure at the highest point of privacy without these two keys. The public key is oftentimes created at the same time with the private key. This cannot have an expression without this. This is needed to make this valid. Thus, nothing can be effected in the vault where you possess these keys without your consent, only if you are the one who is the sole owner of the private key. If you want to get more understanding on this, you need to dive into the concepts of wallets. This now takes us to scalability. We are now back to the benchmarking or the comparison between traditional financial infrastructure and blockchain or crypto as an alternative financial technology infrastructure. Thus, on privacy, which of this technology infrastructure has given you more room? Oftentimes, one wrong narrative about that mainstream media and some players have done with crypto is that for the fact that you do not want, for the fact that, I don't know how they put it, for the fact that you want to use crypto, you have something to hide. That's the right word. But in real life, it's not so. In real life, the right information should only be available to the right audience. That's the bedrock of security. I mean, there are some information about your country, if you make public, you're going to jail. That's how sensitive privacy is. Is it that the country has something to hide? No. But the adverse effect of that information being public can pretty much create a negative narrative than positive. Oftentimes, they call it matters of national security. And I think once finances, most especially gotten through legitimate means, are also matters of personal security. Being finances or currencies being the power for transactions, it's not everybody that should have knowledge of your worth, because the mere knowledge of your worth can influence the decisions that will be made by virtue of those knowledge. But the bottom line is, it can be public, but let there be a system that you choose who should have access to it. And that's the whole point of privacy. Of course, in Nigeria, there have been a lot of interaction, most especially by the Nigerian blockchain user group. There have been a lot of consultations with key policymakers and stakeholders, and they are beginning to understand the benefits that comes with crypto and blockchain as an alternative, streamlined, and even sustainable technology infrastructure that can power a wide variety of money-related services. So I just wanted to add a little on that before we go into scalability. Scalability is another area where will help you appreciate blockchain and by extension cryptocurrency. Online definition of scalability is the ability of a computer application, whether software or hardware, to function very well in its context, even when the size or volume is changed in order to meet a user need. What are we trying to say? Scalability is the ability to meet the needs of a user in the most efficient way with minimal cost. I can go further to say, when something is scalable is when you can do so much more with that thing while paying the smallest or the lowest or the minimal cost. If you increase your need and that service also increases the charge, that service is not scalable. But if that service allows you to pay the default fee, even when it offers you the room to make maximum use of its features, that service is scalable. So let's consider this. So Mr. A wants to send funds to Miss B. Both of them are using the same financial service provider, for instance, the same bank, and they reside in the same country. Another case is Mr. A wants to send money to Miss B. Both of them use different banking service providers, in this case, different banks, but they reside in the same country. The third use case is Mr. A wants to send money to Miss B. Both of them are using different banks, and at the same time, both of them do not reside in the same country. So you can see these are three different transactional cases. Case one, both of them same bank, same country. Case B, both of them different bank, but the same country. Case B, case C, both of them different banks at the same time, different countries. Now, if you're going to use what we have known with our traditional financial institution in the sense of scalability, there are some few things that we can gather. The first thing that we can gather is that the sender, in this case, Mr. A, will have to deal with paying different transfer fees, with option one being the cheapest for him. Why? It's a transaction between GT to GT kind of a thing. The second thing that is obtainable is that the transaction will not be delivered at the same time. We expect option C or option 3, which is transaction across borders, should take the furthest time, in some case days. In worst case scenario, weeks. The third thing that we can gather is that the sender may even have to deal with a capped maximum limit he can send due to regulatory concern. He cannot just send anything he wants to send. They'll tell him how much he can send in a given transactional threshold. Another thing that we can gather is that this transaction can be reversed for many reasons, and they don't need Mr. A's consent to reverse it. In fact, these transactions can be blocked for many reasons, and they don't need Mr. A's consent to block it. The experiences and possible outcomes are many. Now, how about scalability from the alternative financial technology infrastructure, in this case, cryptocurrency, and by extension, blockchain? With cryptocurrency, we can go to a point of saying is a little bit more scalable. Reasons being that if Mr. A wants to send the same funds via blockchain or crypto as a vehicle, he will only pay the same amount of charge, regardless of how big or how small his said funds of transfer is. Also is the latency. Latency means the time it will take to reach destination. The time it will take to reach destination wallet address is fairly the same, regardless of the geographical boundary, right? So now, we have now compared our traditional banking infrastructure and crypto as a financial technology infrastructure on grounds of privacy. You choose which seeks to be better. Now we've seen it on grounds of scalability. You choose. This now takes us to the third benchmarking feature, which is security. The technology definition of security is the defense of digital information and the defense of digital assets against threats, whether those threats are coming from the internal or the external. All right? This defense of this information or assets can include your ability to detect, your ability to prevent, and should in case you couldn't detect or prevent, you should be able to respond to threats through policies. All right? You may put in policies that will make it very, very difficult. All right? So this is to say that when the above parameters, detection, prevention, and response, falls under threat, it gives rise to concerns, right? And when it has to do with your money, no words can explain your anxiety. For a significant time, we all can agree that our traditional financial infrastructure powered by our banking sector have come under heavy attacks, hacks, credit card frauds, robbery, disaster, financial mismanagement, and even regulatory sanctions, right? Sometimes nothing happened to the bank, but one of the branch manager will just run away with people's millions, right? And I want to believe we all at some point have either known or heard of people who claim their money just disappeared without their knowledge, without their consent. Some disappearance came as ATM withdrawals through their debit card, even though their ATM card wasn't lost. Others will come as alert or POS alert, yet their ATM card is still with them. Now, this takes us back to the model we did, the first model, when we're talking about blocks, ledgers, and records. You can remember. This is so because even our banking system are pretty much operating on a ledger infrastructure. And in this case, we call it a database infrastructure. And with database, oftentimes databases are configured such that user data is organized using what is called a primary key. And with that primary key, every other feature or activity oftentimes gets linked to this primary key. In some situation, we can also have a super key. What is the implication? The implication is that if this primary key is compromised, everything that is linked to that primary key may be open to attack. To the best of my knowledge, probably our banking account numbers is the best example of our primary keys in our banking databases. Probably our BVNs, probably our NIN, the list go on. Now, there are many ways this database can be compromised. The database can be hacked. The database can be jammed. The database can be physically destroyed. That database can be overlaid with too many tags. These and many more can make its security vulnerable and as such open it up to what we call compromise. Oftentimes, this is because every activity of the user was linked to the primary key. More so, with recent increase in value-added services, everything is now relating to our account numbers, and in some cases, our BVNs, online recharges, online subscriptions, betting, POS, the list go on. All are linked to unique identifiers in our banking infrastructure. Oftentimes, our account numbers. Some cases, our BVNs. Then how can we see security from the other side? With cryptocurrency, on the other hand, due to cryptography again, which has its own record structure, laced with multiple layers of security, that's one thing. But another important thing is that this record structure is not centralized. So there is no central location to attack, like in the case of the server rooms in most of our banks, or pretty much the DMZs in most of the headquarters. The second security advantage is the concept of wallet. The cryptographic keys that are stored in your wallet are an important security feature. While most people think the coins they have are stored in wallets, the truth is that your coins are not stored in your crypto wallets. I know it's shocking, but listen, your coins are not stored in your wallet. You then ask me, then where are my coins stored? Your coins have always been a property of the blockchain. What? Yes. Your coins have always been the property of the blockchain. Your coins are stored in the blockchain. Wallets only store your keys. I think I need to repeat this again. Wallets only store your keys. What are the keys? The public keys and the private keys. What are the examples of public keys? Public key, wallet address. Private key, password, passphrase. All this information are stored in the wallet. But for the coins, the coins are a function and a property of the blockchain. It's just that despite the fact that the coins are stored in the blockchain, the coins are under the ownership of wallet addresses. I repeat, despite the fact that the coins are stored in the blockchain, they are under the ownership of wallet addresses. Thus, as long as the keys who are the owners of the coins, though in the blockchain, as long as these keys are secured, your coins are secured. And the reason why you can view the coins you have, XYZ coins, is because you had to first make use of the keys that own them in the blockchain space. And when you use those keys, which are your wallet credentials, you will only be able to have a sneak view of the coins that are under the ownership of that wallet and pretty much make use of it. Permit me to say that the blockchain is like a tree, wherein it has many fruits, and each of the branch of those three, even though they produce fruit, is allocated to everyone here. So I have my own branch, you have your own branch. When my branch produce any fruit, even though the fruit and the branch are in the tree, it has been allocated to me. And the rules of engagement says that you do not touch my fruit except you seek for permission. So when you seek permission from me, I will delegate my fruit or the fruit in my own branch to you. That's the condition. So in other words, those fruits are under my ownership, despite not with me, resident in the tree. This is pretty much a simple replica of how we do our box office, right? Emails, right? The emails are actually not on your phone. The emails are actually on a server somewhere, but you have remote access credentials to those servers. That's why you could read your emails and respond to other emails. But the email infrastructure is actually resident in your computer or in your phone. Your computer or your phone is just a terminal for remote access to the messaging infrastructure at some messaging server, either with Google or with Yahoo, and the list gone. I need to go this over again gently. Why? Because it has implications. A lot of people think their coins are in our wallets. But now I'm telling you that actually the coins are a property of the blockchain. And now when we go back to our first model, you can agree with me that even like for the sake of Bitcoin, that you have to first discover a block, and inside the block lies coins as your reward. You're only taking possession or ownership of that part of the blockchain space. So you then ask me, then what happens when I send somebody my coins? Simple. When you send somebody your coins in the blockchain space, you are wielding ownership to the person because it's a cryptographic transaction. Technically, you get his public key, which is his wallet address, and you append the transaction with your private key, oftentimes your fingerprint, your passphrase, whatever that you have used. Only through that will technically the coins be sent, but technically you are only relinquishing the ownership of that coins to him. Thus, that coins gets a new owner, which is the owner of the wallet address it was sent to. But the coin has never left the blockchain. Or rather, there is no coin in the blockchain that is not under the ownership of a wallet address. Sort of. All we have been doing in the blockchain space is transferring ownership within a cryptographic boundary verified by our cryptographic credentials. I've already given you an example of the cryptographic credentials. They are basically two: public key and private key. Public key, perfect example, is your wallet addresses. The private key is the password, passphrase, the list go on. Why am I saying this? Because back to our security concern, if an attacker really wants to track you and want to steal from you, the big question is, how will he or she go about it? First, this is an infrastructure that is decentralized. So there's no central location to attack. And if the blockchain is made up of, let's say, 1,000 nodes, 500 nodes, 6,000 nodes, it means there are 6,000, 1,000, or 500 computers that have full copies of the blockchain. He cannot take down the blockchain until he has the mechanism to take down those 1,000 computers across the world at the same time, or rather, majority. based on the consensus algorithm. If the consensus algorithm says is a 51-49, means that anybody that takes control of 51% of the machine can rewrite the code, can inject a new thing. So the person needs to attack at least 51% of the machines. And if the node infrastructure has a capacity of, let's say, 100 or 1,000, it means that the person needs to take over 501 or 510, as the case may be, nodes. Now, how can the person attack these machines at the same time? What technology does he need? What kind of resources will he have to amass? Bringing us to the perfect policy for security. Because the perfect security is the kind of security that it will cost the thief so much more than what he wants to steal. Literally, security is achieved if it will cost you 5 million naira just to steal 20,000 naira. Security is achieved because you are not dumb. You cannot just go and waste 5 million naira just because you want to steal 50,000 or 100,000. This is the security that decentralized blockchain infrastructure brings. Because there's no central location to attack. And with centralized technology, as awesome as they are, because they are run centrally, let's not forget the Byzantine problem, loopholes are bound to happen. As long as that central location is hit. Now, we now agree that even in most blockchain solutions, consensus is achieved by voting. Consensus is achieved by more than one terminal. We must need a minimum of some blockchains, 10 confirmations. Some, like for the sake of Bitcoin, minimum of 3 confirmations. Some blockchain, 100 confirmations. I think Dogecoin need, 100 confirmations, thereabouts. And these confirmations are coming from random locations. So how can you inject an attack and confirm that attack without controlling those independent locations so that they can confirm it for you? Thus, it will down to the thief that the only way he can steal anything is for him to forget about the blockchain and focus on you who have the wallet. Now, when he now focuses on you, he still should have a problem now. The wallet infrastructure is built with 2 keys we have already established, the public key and the private key. Thus, your private key, which ought to be private to you alone, should be his biggest challenge. But note this, at any point you lose control of your private key, be very sure to know that your wallet is no longer safe. At this point, it's not the technology that was faulty, but actually you who became the point of compromise. Now, this is where I need to sound this very loud and clear. There's one attitude that I've seen in the crypto community that is very, very bad. We respect our coins, but we do not respect our keys. We respect our coins, but we do not respect our wallets. Yet, all our coins is under the ownership of wallets. Yet, we do not respect our wallets. We have screenshots of our passphrases flying everywhere. We do not guard our pass keys, our passphrases, our password, where we guide our Ethereums and our Litecoins and our Bitcoins. Not knowing that those coins are under the ownership of those keys. Whoever has those keys, that person has the coins. It means to say with crypto, the power of control of digital assets is in the hands of the user On no condition should you reveal your keys. With cryptography, it's all about keys. The private key, oftentimes your password, seed phrases, and its corresponding public key, which oftentimes is the cryptographic hash that actually generates your wallet addresses. And that's where funds are sent to. Any coin sent to any wallet address will automatically be owned by the owner of that, will automatically be owned by the owner of the private key linked to that wallet address. I want this to sink in. If the keys are not yours, the coins are not yours. If the keys are yours, of course, the coins are yours. I mean to say, if the keys are not only yours, the coins also are not only yours. We have seen a lot of people who have given blind trusts to people they call OG, people they call leader, people they call mentor. Come and help me, or do this for me, do this for me. They say we should do wallet integration. I don't know how to do it. This KYC, I don't. And you are exposing your sensitive data. Like seriously. And you think your coins are safe? Not in a second. What? Why crypto? I think we have gone a great deal. I do not know if somebody has a question. I think for those on Facebook, I think I'll be going off. Are we going offline? All right, let's answer the questions. After answering the question, then I'll bring the streaming to Zoom to an end while we'll attend to question. But before questions come, let me give you an overview of what we'll be considering tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow we'll be considering professional issues in the crypto space. We're going to consider usability and internet security. We're going to also cover security again tomorrow. All right, the time is 9 p.m. local time. Okay, that's it. Question, how do you secure or reclaim a wallet that has been compromised? Good question. Well, it depends on what class of wallet has been compromised. All right. Is it a custodial wallet? Okay, you've even given us an idea. It's a MetaMask. MetaMask is a non-custodial wallet. And this now takes us back to the question, not your keys, not your coins. So how do you reclaim what is no longer yours, keys-wise? I don't know if it's beginning to make sense, Ola. Not your keys, not your coins. It's rather unfortunate that we kind of think our coins are in our wallet, right? So we are not worried about the wallet. We're just worried about the coins. Now, what the truth of the matter is, coins or currencies are always within the blockchain boundary. It's just that they are not independent of their own. Every coin that you have seen is under the ownership of a wallet address. In fact, you can begin to put your mind on virtually all transactions that happen in a given blockchain. Airdrops, right? When they distribute, from where to where? Don't you see the distribution coming from a wallet to your wallet? And that's the way it goes, right? In this case, there's nothing you can do because it's non-custodial. And being non-custodial means nobody will take the responsibility of the custody of the coins or of the wallets to you. And since now that wallet is outside your custody, there's nothing you can do. Even if the person gives you back the wallet, how sure are you he's still not holding the private key to that wallet, won't he wake up? Like, seriously, ladies and gentlemen, uh, it's very sad, but let me tell you the truth. The reality is some of your wallet address are under watch lists. That's the truth. How did they get your wallet address on the watch list? Some of them came through innocent airdrop activities, right? How many of you who have done one or two airdrop activity that have made you connected your wallet or the airdrop to your social media account like Twitter, your wallet? How many of you have gone and renounced the contracts? Like, hmm? I mean, we are sitting on ticking bomb. Some of your wallets are under watch list and they're just waiting when you just hammer. The list gone. Okay. So you mentioned notes. Can you throw more light on it? What are notes? Well, in income generating option, we're going to consider proof of stake. Notes are just like super note. It's called notes, super notes, validator notes. These are the real use case of decentralized blockchain technology. These are the machines that have full copy of the blockchain. All right. So what do they do? Verification. Hello. That's what nodes do. Verification. So let's say we are in a given blockchain and we all are having nodes of that blockchain. The people who are having wallets wherein the coins of that blockchain is used. We are the one who pick their brokers. We are the one who, it is our machine that verify that they can spend, and when they want to spend, we redirect the transaction to the destination wallet address and take home the charges. So like for me, is a proof of stake. And there are many ways we kind of like make money, or rather profiting from proof of stake. The developers of the blockchain can have a treasury minting consensus such that every month, every week, they will mint XYZ coins and allocate 20%, 40% of minted coins to the community of nodes. So if they allocate 500,000 coins and you people are 10,000, so it's going to be 10,000, 500,000 divided by 10,000. Whatever is left is your allocation. That's verification. Recording transaction. Like for proof of stake, there's also voting, consensus voting. Unlike proof of work, where it's your machine that would discover the blocks bar, for some blockchain like proof of stake, nobody discovers the block. The blocks are available, but you vote on which of the blocks should be used at an instant. So let's say there are pretty much 6 million blocks. Your machine, this is me, what I'm saying is not you coding. No, it's running automatically. All right. It's what we call, I've forgotten what they call, slices. So your machine will join like a political party, and there's what we call DAO. The algorithm listen to the highest number of machines that are voting for this block to be the next block. All right. So all machine in the proof of stake, it has gone even further to what we call proof of authority. You can delegate your decision to a super machine, so that when that machine makes decision on which blocks should be used, is actually speaking the rest of the machine's mind. So like for proof of stake, you do voting, which block should be used and things like that. There are also instances where you also be required to do manual voting. Let's say something happens in the blockchain, they want to move from stage 1 to stage 2. Then they will now make a broadcast. This is what we want to do virtually through many of their channel, Discord channel, list. And they'll say, let's go and vote. Maybe, for instance, because proof of stake, you will require collateral. All right, collateral. I think the easiest way I can describe proof of work is proof of work. Let's say we are playing a game, what? All of us have our own little journal. So all of us have written everybody who is playing the what game. So when somebody win the what, all of us will go and update. This is the person that win in this stage. So this is like proof of work. Proof of stake, before you play it, everybody will keep 2K, right? 2K. And that 2K is somehow in the hands of everybody. Anybody that do Ojoro has lost his 2K. That's like proof of work. You need a collateral. And because you need a collateral, you also need to do ethical delegation or whatever. So you cannot broadcast wrong information, because if you broadcast wrong information, the remaining participant will use their private key and lock what is your collateral, and it becomes the property of the DAO. All right, so pretty much that's how nodes work. It primarily helps in the decentralization of a blockchain, but doesn't come without incentives. All right, depending on the blockchain type, depending on the currency type, some massive money, some little. Either way, you need to make your decision. I have cases where someone received an airdrop to his wallet, and the wallet became compromised, where leading to a lot of loss of asset without sending our private keys. So you needed not to send your private key. All right. There was an interaction that you approved. Anything you approve at the wallet, it is your private key authorizing it. Because before you access your wallet, you had to use your key. So anything you do while you are in that session is definitely going to be powered by the keys that you use to access it. All right. Some may even prompt you to confirm, and you confirm. Some of these private key have been replaced by your fingerprint or even your biometrics. If your phone do what do we call face recognition. So pretty much that's it. Is it possible for hackers to have control of the entire wallet in case one of the wallets is hacked? Well, we'll do that tomorrow. So why don't we keep this question for tomorrow? Yeah, it depends. It's a yes and no thing. So let me give you an idea. There are many layers of security. The phone you are holding right now has a hardware. So the body itself comes with no security. That's where there's fingerprint, blah, 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 blah. That's physical security. That's like layer one. Then inside that phone lies what we call an operating system. That operating system is a mobile operating system. It can be Android, it can be iOS. Those ones also come with their own securities, right? You have to know the security features. So security on the hardware, and now security on the software. Then in that software lies application. This is where your Google, WhatsApp, and then your crypto wallets, right? Those also come with their own securities, right? So it can happen that while the wallet is secured, the operating system is not secured. Thus, in that phone lies a malicious software running. And pretty much that malicious software is to do some pretty jobs. Like, for instance, copy anything you are typing with your keyboard. And peradventure for you, you need to type your passphrase if you want to access your wallet. Plus, anything you are typing with a keyboard, that malicious program is cramming. And when it have internet, it sends that information as a batch file to someone. Can that bring about compromise? Well, you answer. So thank you. We've come to the end of day one. Let me stop the live stream.